got about 10, 12 minutes left. I have a question here that I want to debate, or two questions actually. First is something that's been on our mind, but we haven't talked about it for some reason. Is this the best quarterback season in North Texas history?
I think I slightly brought it up in a
You
different
did,
way, but
but
you didn't want to talk about it at
I
that
looked
time.
at the numbers.
Yeah, I'm gonna, without looking at the numbers, I'm going to say yes, and I think that's because on top of what Chandler Rogers is doing this year in a harder conference and first year, whatever, is when you watch him, it looks just a little different than what I've seen in the past. And I'm not trying to say Mason wasn't great and couldn't throw really good throws. I mean, we have the drive and all that, but some of these dimes that this dude's dropped and the way he sees the field, and then it's just it's otherworldly. And then you add the rushing, add his legs in there. I mean, it's just, I mean, the 40-yard run. Did he have a 75-yard run earlier in the year?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, come on. I think he is another level, and that's not to say Mason wasn't good and isn't the best quarterback right now all time in North Texas history. I want to make sure that is clear. I think that Chandler Rogers this year has been phenomenal.
Mason Fine, 2017 and 2018. Let me read the stats. 2017, 289 yards, 2.2 touchdowns per game. We have to do per game because they've played different amount of games. 2.2 touchdowns per game, 15 total interceptions, 7.9 yards per attempt. Conference USA Offensive Player of the Year. 2018, 291.8 yards per game, 2.1 touchdowns, 5 picks on the season, 8.1 yards per attempt, and Conference USA Offensive Player of the Year. Rogers this year, 270.8 yards per game, 2.36 touchdowns, 8.1 yards per attempt, and only 4 interceptions on the year. The numbers are comparable. Very
Add
comparable.
rushing though.
You add rushing, Rogers edges a little bit. I think Rogers only at like 200 rushing yards on the year, but Mason was at like 50 or 60.
Well, for touchdowns though.
I think he has 4. Rogers does.
Yeah. And
So
did Mason have?
Mason had 2 on one of the years. I don't remember
Yeah.
the other year. Rogers is more. I think Rogers is a better natural arm talent,
Mm-hmm.
like naturally gifted quarterback, like a natural playmaker in that sense. Um, it's I'm hesitant. I don't want to live like prisoner of the moment, but the arm talent is better and the legs are better, and I think he has a worse receiving core than Mason had. Well, actually, I know he has a worse
Right.
receiving core.
Right.
Those Mason Fine teams with Rico Bussey, Jalen Guyton, Michael Lawrence, Jalen Darden towards the end of his career. I mean, those are obviously elite receiving rooms. This one, as much as I love Rod Burns and Damon Ward and whatnot, it's really just Jamori Maclin.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key difference maker here. So I think I'm gonna take Rodgers, but I think a separating factor that Mason has that we don't know about Rodgers to this point because he hasn't been in as many high leverage games or hasn't been in the drive type situations as much. Mason Fine to me as a competitor and as a leader on those teams was what made him special and what like that type of aura that he had and that type of confidence that he had was kind of the difference in those 2017 2018 teams and where when he got the ball with a minute left on the 10 like you knew he was going to score.
Right.
Rodgers to this point hasn't quite done that. Now again, it's a different supporting cast around him, but we go back to he did so against Memphis, scored with 40 seconds left, should have won that game. Was unable to do it against Tulane. UTSA second half wasn't great, but I'm not gonna pick him apart because Mason Fine in those years wasn't perfect either. So I think it's an interesting argument. I'm interested to see what like people who listen to us think more than anything. That's why I wanted to bring it up. Like maybe I will post a poll on it on
Yeah.
Twitter. But I think Rodgers I think the answer is yes to me. Rodgers, this is the best quarterback season in North Texas history. If he goes and against UAB puts up another good game, like let's just say 303 touchdowns and no picks, like that type of game, I think it's going away. I think it is Chandler Rogers.
What's the what weight do you put into the conference difference here? I mean, you're playing defenses that are better than most of the time what Mason ever saw. Like, for example,
Is that true?
if I mean, yeah. Like, okay, so like, where would
Okay.
you put? You have Tulane now, right? Tulane was what, the 23rd ranked
Okay.
team in the
Yeah.
nation.
Yeah.
If the bowl game against, I don't think any of those bowl games were against ranked opponents. Like Utah State,
Utah
I
State
know
was
wasn't ranked.
no, they weren't ranked. They were pretty good though that
They
year.
were really good offensively, but Utah State wasn't ranked. And I guess some of this, I guess we could probably. I mean, there's a reason why Seth isn't coach anymore. Is making sure that you know what I mean. Like, so I don't want to put too much
Well,
on.
yeah, there's another thing to factor in is do you consider the Morris factor? If Morris is as good as an offensive coach as we assume him to be,
Yeah,
is that an advantage for
yeah,
Rogers as well? Which it is, but at the time Mason had Graham Harrell.
that's true. Oh, and I guess Mason was injured against Utah State, so throw that out of the window.
So 2018 season for North Texas, because I think that's the Mason Fine
Here,
year.
let's do the. Is that the Troy year when they played Troy in
No,
the bowl?
no. That was the Utah State year. Troy year was 2017.
Okay, and he
He threw like 5 picks that game.
yeah, he got destroyed often. Like the
But
offensive line got
2018
destroyed.
season to me is the one because he only had 5 interceptions,
Right.
and they didn't make the conference championship that year, but he was still really, really good. And their losses that year were like by 2 on a blocked field goal to La Tech, and the UAB game where he had that fumble that was weird, and the ODU collapse. So like they were really, really, really good that year.
Yeah.
I do actually, now that you mention it, now that you bring it up, I will say this year's schedule is significantly harder than the 2018 schedule.
Yeah. And
Like
so
looking
like how much do you put in that? Like
like yeah.
does this Chandler Rogers team lose against Old Dominion in Conference USA?
Now the team, I don't know if the defense, I don't know, but because this 2018 defense was pretty bad too. But I get what you're at. I get what you're
Yeah.
saying. Like look like if you read off the schedule of this season, out SMU week 1 was a shell of it. So that SMU team was awful. And I'm not taking anything away from this team. This is a great run. But, SMU wasn't great. Arkansas win was awesome. We love it, but 44-17 over Arkansas, that speaks a lot about Arkansas. 47-7 against Liberty. That was not the Liberty team that is currently running through Conference USA. La Tech was probably the best team they played that year,
Yeah.
and they should have won, but they lost. Again, should have won. And then Utah State's definitely the best team, and they were ranked number 23 in the country, and they lost 52-13. So that kind of speaks to your point.
Yeah, Mason was injured again, but you know, I don't remember when he got injured in that game, I will say.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It was early, wasn't it?
I like I said, I don't remember.
No, you're right. It was really early. He was 8 of 12, 59 yards, and then Case Martin came in and started bombing touchdowns. Shout out to Case Martin, 1 touchdown. But I remember that throw. You remember that throw?
Yeah.
Dude bombed it like 60 yards.
And then we all thought we were back.
We're like Case Martin time, baby. Anyways, so I do think that's a fair point. So yeah, I'm gonna go Chandler Rogers. I think it's an interesting debate, and we'll post it on our board. But yeah, Chandler Rogers or Mason Fine.
I do
Mason
want to be
to
clear
me,
though, it's not a who's the greatest quarterback.
no, greatest. Mason Fine is still the greatest. Rogers is
Yeah.
gonna have to do this again.
Yet again.
Um, I mean, Mason Fine has 2 Conference Tuesday Offensive Players of the Years, like,
Yeah.
and he kind of resurrected this program single-handedly.
Yeah.
Not single-handedly; they had good players, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, that's my first one. Was Fine or Rogers? The second one is an interesting question where I think you need the stats, and I'll put the stats up. But where does Jamori Maclin's season rank in terms of the last decade, or not even decade, since the Latrell era, since 2016, basically?
Stats rank.
I'll send it to you.
Just stats.
I will send it to you.
So we gotta we're comparing this against Rico, Jalen.
Here,
and
I'm
Jalen.
posting it on our screen right here if you can read it.
Okay.
Zoom in.
Okay.
Whoa.
So we got
Whoa.
okay, we got it. So we got Maclin, Bussy, Darden, Shorter, Darden. Okay. So I think you instantly throw out Darden 2018.
I didn't want to use the 2020 or
The
20 this is 2019 Darden, I think, actually.
Oh. I think you throw that out.
Okay.
Now these other ones are interesting. Did Jair play every game that year?
Yes.
Okay. He did play every game that year. Man, everyone I think forgets about Rico Bussey 2017. That was a really good season. Oh, I mean, you can't. 2020 Darden's the best. Obviously.
I mean, this is different. This is Biletnikoff finalist Jalen Darden.
Yeah,
Like this is number
like,
one.
that's other level. Like catches the ball and it's
This is
touchdown.
this is number one. Jalen
I
Darden
think
2020 season is number one.
I think in terms of what the
And
team
this
did.
was in 9 games. Let's remember 9 games because COVID.
Oh yeah,
So that makes it
yeah.
even like if this
That's
was a full 12, 13 games at 4 games onto this, bro, he's probably at
like 23,
no,
24.
bro. He was averaging 2 a game. So 8 onto that, 27 touchdowns on 100 catches.
Yeah, that's
Like
otherworldly.
he's literally at 13 or 1400 yards. Dude,
Yeah,
more than that. What's 13 times 132? I don't have my phone.
13 times
13 times
132.
132.
It is
Having trouble?
17-16.
Yeah, dude. This dude would have gone for 1,716 yards, 27 touchdowns on probably like 100 receptions
Yeah.
on over a 13 game sample, over a 13 game size. That would have been Jalen Darden's
Yeah,
production
that's ridiculous. Actually,
if it wasn't a COVID season.
clearly number one, far and away number one. These other ones get more interesting. That's really funny, actually. I think Shorter's got to be. We'll go opposite. I think Shorter's got to be 4,
Okay.
just because I feel like all of his touchdowns. I mean, you can see it with the yards per catch. I feel like it was. I mean, great player, but he got touchdowns one
He
way.
had 23 catches on the year for 11 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Last year.
So I mean, that's what he was. I think Maclin and Bussey are both more dynamic than that. Now, here's where it gets interesting because that 2017 year was the drive year.
Yep.
Maclin still has a game to go.
Yes, that's why I did the yard. That's why I did per game stuff. But Maclin should
Yeah.
end with more, or at least as many touchdowns.
Yeah, we'll say touchdowns are the same, and then yards per game. I mean, it's going to be basically the same. I think I'm going to put Bussey first or above Maclin just because that team did better than Maclin, unless you don't want to grade it that way.
It's interesting because I don't know. Jalen Guyton was on that team, right?
Yeah, what's
Jalen
Rico by
Guyton.
himself? Like
Maclin is kind of by himself. Guyton
Right.
was on that team with Bussey. Michael Lawrence was on that team with Bussey. So from that perspective, I think Maclin maybe deserves a little bit more credit
Oh, more credit.
because he's kind of the only one there, and he's
Oh, I see what you're saying.
more
Yeah,
explosive.
that's a good point. That is a good point.
New quarterback too.
New quarterback. Yeah.
I was newish at the time, but yeah.
Okay.
We'll
No, I like that argument. I like that argument.
Okay.
Let's go Maclin too.
Okay. Well,
That's
we'll
interesting.
also ask this on Twitter, so we'll see
Yeah.
what y'all say. But Jalen Guyton had 2 really good years, but he didn't quite reach this threshold that Bussey reached in 2017. I'll even pull it up for y'all.
I think he got hurt one of the years, right?
2017, Jalen Guyton had 49 catches, 775 yards, 9 touchdowns. Really good year,
Yeah.
but not quite at that level. And then Jalen Guyton the following season. Also, did I write 2017 Bussey? This is actually 2018 Bussey. 18 Bussey. Bussey this year, was 1,017 yards, 12 touchdowns. Like as you can, 68 catches.
Yeah.
And Guyton was 54 catches, 805 yards, 6 touchdowns. So very good year again. But yeah, then you had the emergence. Jalen Darden starting to emerge. 48 catches in 2018 and so on and so forth. So, all right. There's our rankings. There you go.
That's an interesting one.
That was
I do like the Chandler Rogers one though. I think we all need to keep an eye on that. For his career.
Yes, for his career. Next year we'll see.
Like if this team, wins 9 games or 8 games and he has an equally good statistic season, I mean,
yeah,
there's a conversation to be had.
There definitely is a conversation to be had. And honestly, there's a conversation for him to get drafted if he has another season like this one. Like seriously, even though he's only 6 feet tall, but we're having the same discussion that we had with Mason again. So, all right, that's it. That's all we have for y'all today. Hope y'all enjoyed The podcast will be back after Saturday's game. Colin, how you feeling about Thanksgiving? You ready? Is your body ready
What do you What do you mean?
for
I don't go
Thanksgiving?
crazy. I don't go crazy Thanksgiving like I do with other
Yeah,
things. I
but
think Thanksgiving food is very, very mediocre. Like I feel like every year we shouldn't have the same stuff. Like we should mix it up. Like only thing I eat is turkey and mac and cheese, really.
because you're a 5-year-old.
Well, that and I don't like stuffing because it sucks.
Because you're a 5-year-old.
Cranberry sauce sucks.
You're 5 years old.
What do you like? What do you eat?
Corn,
Corn's good. I'll eat corn.
mashed potatoes. You don't eat mashed potatoes?
Depends on who makes the mashed potatoes.
Okay.
There's levels to this, Brune.
Ham.
Ham sucks.
Oh, brother. My plate will typically include turkey, ham, mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, corn, maybe stuffing. I'm with you on the cranberry sauce. I can't really do that. Oh, also toast. Or not toast, rolls. Rolls. I know you have those on your plate too.
I do have rolls on my plate.
There you go. That's my plate. I got to get going. I got work to be doing. But yeah, thank you all for joining us. If you haven't already subscribed to the YouTube channel, basketball doesn't really play anybody for a bit until Boise State, so we'll kind of keep eyes on them. And yeah, have a nice Thanksgiving. Enjoy it with your family, and hope North Texas gets a win and we come on here happy on Saturday. So, Colin Mitchell, I'm Matthew Bruni. We will talk to y'all later.